Yeah, I just kind of showed up. I just kind of, found it by just random kind of chance and accident. I was living at an apartment, and this was, back in the day where MySpace was a thing. And, oh man, I got to kind of think about this for a little bit. I may have to just kind of like get my head around the story and then start back. You guys can edit everything. You guys just have like the magic. It's like so Hollywood here. Oh my gosh. I was living in an apartment. I got a new job, and there was an apartment that had a computer room, so you could go and you could check your MySpace page, which that's what I was doing at the time. I was checking a MySpace page when that was still a thing. And there was a girl down in the computer room, and she was also checking her MySpace page, and there was some tigers on the background of her MySpace page. And I saw that, and tigers have been my favorite animal ever since I was a little kid. So I decided to just strike up a conversation. I said like, oh my gosh, you got to think for tigers, eh? Because I'm from Wisconsin. And she says, yeah, these are tigers. I actually know these tigers. And I'm like, oh, please explain more. And then she starts telling me about CARE. She starts telling me about the organization. And I start getting just wide-eyed and just, very just surprised at this development. And I asked her, is there any way that a person like myself can be involved in this organization? And she says, sure, we're always looking for new volunteers. In fact, I'm going to be heading over there this weekend. And I said, great, I'm driving. So that's how that started out. I came that first week and I got hooked. I just kept on coming ever since. The second week I didn't have her to guide me. And this was before like GPS was also, I know I'm talking about things that are just like dating us. These Stone Age, technologies. I know MySpace, and I didn't even have a TomTom at the time. Goodness gracious. And I got lost actually here in the Texas, countryside for about 4 hours. I was just driving my stupid Honda Accord back and forth, and I got so far away that some of the locals had no idea what I was talking about. I was just like a crazy guy with a Wisconsin accent. I'm like, you guys know because I came out to the facility, and then I was so magically entranced by everything, and I wanted to experience it again. So I came out the next week and I got lost, and I still have that taste in my mouth, and I wanted to just have it again. But I'm talking to these people in these country convenience stores. I'm like, hey, do you know there's a place with tigers? There's tigers. You know where the tigers are? And they're just like, I don't know what you're talking about, So yeah, I made myself a little bit strange seeming on that day, but I found it at the end of the day, when the sun was setting and the work was already done, and I'm like, hey, it's me, that guy that showed up last week. I'm here again. How you doing? Well, we're done with everything. And I'm like, great. So yeah, that was my first couple times here. Heidi, the executive director, who's now my wife, she thought I legitimately had things wrong, with me. Those first couple times I came out, she did. I know. Who would ever think that, huh? 2013, I think it was, I started Vining. And I had 40 followers, and half of them were robots, just kind of like, hey, look at my vines, follow me. Kind of like that kind of thing, where it's just And I had posted just a bunch of different stuff, and nothing was really getting any hits. And then one of our cats, who's a snow leopard, Arctic, it just so happened that there was an account, and it's called Weekly Whiskers, and they had 3,000 followers at the time, which, yeah, I know, it was big, yeah. And the woman who runs that account, she was just looking for the hashtag snow leopard, and she found Arctic. And she revined a couple of my vines, and I ended up getting 300 followers in one night. And I remember, because it was such a huge thing, because I had been pretty diligently vining to my 40 dedicated followers for months. And I was just doing that, yeah, look at that. And I showed Heidi, oh my God, 300 followers. And she's like, that's great, honey. I got actual work to do, but you do that thing with, the phone. That's awesome. And I'm like, 300 followers. And I just walked away, And it just kept on going up. It didn't stop. It just kept going. And I think the big moment where I knew it was going to be bigger than I'd ever imagined. Fast forward a couple of months, it was December of that year, and I had posted a vine of one of our tigers. His name was Levi. He was one of our white tigers. I know, handsome boy. I miss him too. Love him very, very much. But I got this really beautiful shot of him, just like it was snow, and he was walking in the snow, and his footsteps were kind of muffled, and there was just gray sky, and the sound was right, and he had walked, and he stopped, and he looked, and then he actually kind of came up to the camera, and he sniffed it, and he had these intense eyes, and I knew that I had caught something that was magical, and it's just 6 seconds. I remember thinking that, like, that's something, that's a good one, and I posted that, and that's the one that, I think that was one of my first ones that went viral. And that's like, it was getting like tens of thousands of likes and the revines and whatnot. And then my followers, they went up by, I got like 10 or 15,000 followers in a week or something like that, just from that one. And that's when I knew, like, okay, we're on an escalator going up. Because we specifically say it's not just a sanctuary for animals, it's also a sanctuary for people. And the close-knit, like, kind of familial kind of aspects that we have, the folks that do really dedicate themselves and they become kind of part of, like, the family. And we've been through a lot of different things, and we've worked really hard to take care of this facility, and you're talking literal blood and sweat and tears that go into something like that. And when you struggle for that common purpose and such a beautiful purpose, it really does kind of have that power of bringing people together in a way that we can only kind of understand with each other. So that's definitely one big aspect of it. And of course, the animals. I mean, that's going to by far be the biggest thing. But one thing I will say about that is how my wife Heidi, she has organized everything. Basically, the overlying or the overarching ideology of the organization, and how we treat the animals, and how we look at the animals, and how we talk to the animals, how we view them. Her background as a child therapist it's so profound. It has such a profound impact to everything that we do out there. And when we walk around and we talk to those animals, and when you do that for years, you create this population of animals that they behave and they interact with people in a way that I don't see in other places.